This is a 13 Weather Impact Alert.
And welcome to this live special 13 Weather Impact Alert stream here on 13 Plus. I'm Juliette Dragus here with meteorologist Blake Hansen. Long day so far, but you know, the widespread snow continues to fall across West Michigan tonight, as you have been telling us all week long. Here's a look now at the school closings in our area. Right now, we see about 6 schools closed. Many evening activities were canceled for tonight. Now, you can find that full list on our website, which is updated often and scrolling at the bottom of your screen. And Blake, I know a lot of children are hoping that it's going to be a snow day tomorrow, but it might not necessarily be.
Based on how today has trended and with the bulk of the snow wrapping up by midnight tonight, Juliette, I think the road crews are going to do a good enough job.
I do too.
That they're going to have school tomorrow. And we're kind of at that point of the year where school districts get a little tougher when it comes down to snow days.
Yeah, because they're running out of them.
They're running out of time. Yeah, we actually going to have, I think I have a story about that.
Yeah.
And I just don't think many will close tomorrow. There's still the opportunity, I think, maybe towards Kalamazoo and Battle Creek.
Sure.
That sees consistent snow a little heavier through this evening, but yeah.
Well, and the thing about the timing was, you know, for the evening commute, it was not the greatest, but it's still, everybody knew, everyone was careful.
Yeah.
And then with it stopping overnight, like you say, the road crews should have time to get those main roads cleared.
Should have plenty of time. And at the end of the day, we've seen kind of this amount of snow several times before this season. So they know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a February snow.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of the thing with today. A little bit of a bummer snow-wise compared to our forecast, just how it goes.
Hey.
It's just how it goes sometimes. We've had a few inches of snow across West Michigan. That is for sure. Our weather ball, it is blinking green still. We have some snow still in sight for a few more hours. But of course, I think many of you, if you step outside, you measure some snow, you might be a little disappointed. We have a few inches out here on the weather deck. But definitely the one thing that has happened today is that we've had a lot of dry air filter its way into West Michigan. And that's done two things. One, it kind of limited the snowfall, the initialization of the snow in some spots, especially in the greater Grand Rapids area. And then two, it has also limited the amount of heavy snow that we were anticipating, especially in that peak time between about 3 and 9 o'clock this evening. Now, it's only 8 o'clock, and we still have some snow to go, including, well, it's still snowing at a good, decent rate, some bigger flakes there in downtown Pentwater. But overall, we're seeing a lot of lighter snow compared to what we were thinking even just 24 hours ago. There's the look around West Michigan. Now, we do have snow across the board. It depends, the intensity of the snow depends on where you're located, but we do have some heavier snow up towards US 10, Ludington, the Baldwin area, Reed City, for example. But notice towards Grand Haven, you kind of see where it's shaded in gray. Yeah, a lot of that snow is very light in nature. And then once you get your way towards Grand Rapids to the south and east, that's where we're starting to see some steadier snow work back in from the south, and some of those darker shades of blue, some quick bursts of snow. But we have a few more hours to go. So there's still some snow across the southern half of Indiana, or I should say the northern half of Indiana, into Illinois, and some of that will try to swing its way up into West Michigan over the coming hours. Now, in terms of road conditions, yeah, a bit slick out there. Is it anything we haven't seen this winter? No, but definitely still enough of an inconvenience as we've pushed through this evening commute. This particular model, our HRRR model, is doing a pretty good job in terms of where the dry air is entrained across West Michigan, and it does show that most spots should see a little more snow through this evening, at least till around 11 this evening through around midnight. And then once we get past midnight, this is 2 in the morning, you can see the system snow peels out of here. We'll keep a close eye on the potential for some light lake effect snow tomorrow morning, especially for our lakeshore counties. But I don't think that will get out of hand, and we'll be under quiet skies for the most part by the end of tomorrow. Maybe another inch or so of snowfall through the rest of this evening in some isolated spots. I really think south and east of Grand Rapids, Ionia, Battle Creek, Kalamazoo, maybe upwards of another 2.5 inches of snow through midnight, and then we'll keep an eye on that lake effect. This particular model trying to indicate some additional accumulation up towards Ludington, but I think for the most part another inch or two at best in many spots on top of what has already fallen. Now, numbers tonight mostly in the upper teens to lower 20s. We're not going to see those numbers really fall off much more. But I think the one impact that we'll feel tomorrow as the day goes on is the wind. So while the snow will wane tonight, and just outside of some minor lake effect snow. The wind will be widespread tomorrow, and we could see some wind gusts in excess of 35 miles per hour. So that could blow and drift some of this fresh snow around as we get into the afternoon and evening hours. But the snow isn't done. We do have more chances of snow in the forecast. If you're a little disappointed with today, we do have more in the forecast late this week. Really, Friday night, we're going to see another burst of snow come through late Friday evening into Friday night. This might allow for a quick 1 to 3 inches of snow by the time we wake up Saturday morning. And then the focus will turn to what we call a stationary boundary to our south. There's going to be a front set up near the state line, and on the north side of that front where we'll be located, the cold air and the precipitation staying as snow. To the south, a bit warmer, above freezing, and mostly rain. But this is now Saturday afternoon, and you can see a pretty widespread swath of snow across the lower peninsula, and this is what we'll keep an eye on over the course of Saturday afternoon through Saturday night into Sunday morning before this is out of here to our east. But we'll replace that with a little bit of lake effect snow on the backside Sunday into Monday with some colder air spilling in. So again, our chance of snow, despite for many a little disappointing today, our chance of snow does pick back up towards the weekend. And one thing's for sure is that there's no winter thaw in sight. I think the rest of the month is going to remain colder than average. We have a good amount of cold air coming in early next week. That's shown by the 6 to 10 day outlook, where all of that shaded in blue, it's a better probability that we'll see below average temperatures. So once we get through the 18th to 22nd, our average highs are actually in the middle 30s now, average lows in the lower 20s. We'll mostly have daytime highs at least next Monday and Tuesday in the teens, nighttime lows in the single digits, and maybe even for some single digits below zero. So some cold air on the way early next week. Temperatures around 20 tonight and some upper teens to the north. We'll hold on to that snow chance mostly through around midnight, and then we'll see that kind of peel out of here by, we'll say 1, 2 in the morning, and then some light lake effect by daybreak. Here's the rest of our 7-day forecast, and you can see that Friday's a quiet day. Saturday, there's our opportunity of snow, really starting Friday night, and then some lingering lake effects Sunday, Monday into early Tuesday. But what really stands out, it's been a while since we had 2 days back to back where we don't escape the teens for daytime highs, nighttime lows in the single digits, and then we'll see how it goes towards the end of next week. Back to you, Juliet.
Thank you, Blake. As we all know, when it snows here in West Michigan, the road conditions vary across the area, depending on where you are. 13 on your side meteorologist Colton Woods is live in the Weather Chaser right now. Colton, where are you and how are the roads out there right now?
Yeah, hey Juliet, we are heading westbound on I-96 in the Walker area and Martin region, but really the roads aren't too bad as of now, and the snow, because of, like Blake said, the dry air is moving into the region, at least along I-96, so for the most part, the region of I-96 isn't seeing the worst of the conditions right now, at least weather-wise, but regardless of that, the roads are still a little bit slick out here. You can see I-96 heading westbound toward Coopersville right now is a little bit on the slick side. Right now we're traveling about 45 miles per hour, but some people are going a little bit faster than that. Overall impacts aren't too bad, but on the way here into work, right around 7 p.m. or so, I actually did see a car in the ditch around Coopersville heading eastbound on 96. And oh yeah, we actually just drove by a car in the ditch right now. So there have been some accidents across the region due to the slick roadways, and also just the temperatures generally holding around 20 degrees. So when temperatures are that cold, that usually means it's slightly harder for at least salt to be a little bit on the effective side. We did talk with the road commission earlier today in Muskegon County, and they also said when temperatures are around 20 degrees, that's when they start to mix in some sand as well. So the sand allows you to at least see better traction on the roadways, especially on main roads. That's what they're treating first. And at least in Muskegon County, they're treating the main roads and also the interstates and highways first. And then later tonight, they'll likely hit the back roads, side roads, and maybe tonight they'll get to the subdivisions, but that'll most likely be a tomorrow morning issue because we still have the snow continuing overnight. Even though this dry air is limiting at least the heavier snow, especially in Muskegon, Ottawa, and even into Newaygo County as well. Right now I'm looking at the radar on my phone, and we're heading into the dry slot of the system right now, at least where this dry air is punching in across northern Ottawa County, southern Muskegon County, into southern Newaygo County. They're definitely seeing the lightest snow out of everyone across West Michigan. Grand Rapids, especially south of Grand Rapids toward I-94, seeing at least heavier snowfall across the region, and also toward US 10 they're seeing some heavier snow. But overall, the impacts on the roadways, at least here in northern Ottawa County along I-96, aren't too bad, I would say, but still nothing like we haven't seen so far this winter. But we're in February, so at least take it slow on the roadways for the most part, but nothing too out of the ordinary, as this storm is at least worse to the north and also to the south along I-96, kind of missing out on the heaviest snow. So at least that's good news for travel wise, but not the best if you're a forecaster, I would say. But the heaviest snow right now really confined toward I-94. We're still going to be traveling on I-96 pretty much for the rest of this streaming show, just about entering the Coopersville area right now, and really there's not a whole lot of snow falling out of the sky right now. The heaviest snow, like I said, is north and south of us, and currently on I-96 the roads aren't too bad, at least as of now. But I will send it back to you, Juliet.
Well, Colton, earlier today you spent the afternoon in our early evening newscast in Muskegon, where the snow started earlier than it did here in the Grand Rapids area. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Julia, in Muskegon it definitely was at least on the worst side, especially between about, I would say, 2 and 4 p.m. or so. That's when the heaviest snow fell in Muskegon. Actually, when we were at the Muskegon County Road Commission building, they actually were getting quite a bit of snow there, and it accumulated to about 2.5 inches within roughly a 2-hour time span. So an inch per hour snowfall rates is definitely enough to at least make it difficult for the road crews to tackle.
All right, Colton, thank you. We'll be checking back with you again as well. That's Colton Woods live in the Weather Chaser with our Maddie Monroe, who's driving. Road crews will be busy tonight and overnight working to clear this latest snowfall. 13 on your side's Julia Gorman joins us now from the newsroom with a look at the approach to this storm. Julia.
Juliet, how's it going? Crews at the Muskegon County Road Commission started working at 2 o'clock this afternoon. They're going to work through the night until about 3:30 tomorrow morning. That's just one shift of people, so that's quite a long shift for those folks. We talked with Ken Holka with the Road Commission this afternoon, and he says this storm, as Colton was kind of getting into there, is mostly going to be treated with salt based on the temperatures that are expected. If things do get a bit below 20 degrees, though, that's when they would switch to using a little bit more sand. We told you a few weeks ago when crews in our community were using more sand over salt, because when those temperatures do drop, that salt becomes a bit more ineffective in those colder temperatures, below 20 in the teens and single digits. Our weather team's been talking this week about how this storm is presenting differently than our last few, and that it's system snow compared to lake effect snow. Holka says this also impacts how crews approach cleanup.
System-wide, of course, we know every single route and every single mile of road is going to need something. If it's more localized, we can always, we can probably better overall respond to those, because if we don't have the need in one area, we can redirect those forces up to the area where it's needed.
Yeah, so as he mentioned, there kind of a different approach in that this snow we're dealing with more widespread compared to some of our other systems, whereas we've told you that really difficult, heavy, higher amount of snow has been in certain areas along the lakeshore. Now, I know many of us have heard this before, but every time we talk with these road crews, they ask us to remind folks, please give these plow drivers enough time to work. Here in Michigan, it is required by law to have at least 200 feet of space between you and a plow, and at least 20 feet when you're stopped. So keep that in mind if you do have to be driving tonight. That's, of course, for the safety of the plow driver, your safety as well. You also don't want the materials that could be coming off of the plow to hit your car. Not only is it going to make it dirty, but you never know when a big chunk of salt could fly out, and that's certainly something that could end up cracking a windshield. So you really just, for safety first and foremost, but also just, you don't want to get your car dirty, and you don't want to run into a broken windshield. It's a nightmare. Now, if you see cars, emergency vehicles on the side of the road, please move over for them. I can't tell you how many stories I've done where folks have gotten seriously injured or even died because people are not moving over. That is also the law here in Michigan. If you really can't move over for whatever reason, at least slow down significantly when you're seeing a car on the side of the road. It's really just the respectful thing to do, and in many situations it is the law here in Michigan and across the country. If for some reason, as you heard Colton mentioning, some cars that have crashed off to the side or gone into ditches, it really is best to stay in your car until first responders drivers get there to assist you, especially now when it's dark out and folks can't see. You don't want to be out walking around. It's really best to stay in your car and belted. That's what police have told us over and over again. For now, I'll send it back to Juliet.
All right, important information. Julia, thank you very much. We want to take a live look right now at the Muskegon Luge Winter Sports Adventure Park. This is their live webcam. And earlier tonight we were seeing, as maybe we'll see it pan over, there were quite a few young people there on the hills. There they are. The park is thrilled to have this snow. As you may remember, last year there wasn't very much snow and it was very difficult for business, especially at the luge park. The snow this year is very welcome, and they plan to be open for at least a couple of more weeks. We're going to hear more from operators of the luge park, but I just wanted you to take a look at how it is right now, and people are out and they are enjoying the snow in Muskegon. If you park in Grand Rapids or Muskegon, city leaders are reminding drivers there are odd, even parking rules in each city, and if you don't follow them, you will get a ticket. In Grand Rapids, the rules are in effect until April 1st. On odd dates, you must park on the side of the street with the odd numbered addresses. On even dates, you have to park on the side of the street with even numbered addresses. Grand Rapids city leaders say the rule is for snow plows and emergency vehicles to access neighborhoods. They need to be able to clear out the snow even when it's not snowing, so you have to follow those rules all season long. In Muskegon, there are slightly different rules downtown compared to the city's neighborhoods. Now, in downtown Muskegon, you can park on both sides of the street during the day. Overnight, you must follow those odd, even parking rules. In neighborhoods, meanwhile, you can park on both sides of the street from 5 in the afternoon until 7 in the morning. However, during the day, you must follow those odd, even parking rules. In Muskegon, those rules are in effect until March 1st. We received a statement from the Muskegon Police Department on this issue, which says in part, this ordinance is enforced every day during these winter months, not just when the streets are being plowed for snow removal. It goes on to say, we understand that a ticket for this enforcement may be a nuisance to our residents, but we hope this will help inform even more people about this long-standing ordinance. So there you have it on odd even parking in both Grand Rapids and Muskegon. First responders and tow truck drivers are reminding other drivers about the law when it comes to emergency vehicles. 13 on your side's Jeremiah Brown has details.
I've been doing it for 24 years, and I'm always got eyes in the back of my head.
For Ryan Nielsen, owner of Ryan's Towing in Rockford, the move over law can be personal.
There has been multiple times where I've had to jump out of the way because someone's not paying attention. They're looking at their phone, they're looking at the accident scene, they're not paying attention to what's going on in front of them.
His business has spent the morning preparing for the snowfall, making sure they are equipped to assist drivers in tricky situations.
We pull out four-wheel drives just as much as we pull out two-wheel drives. People not replacing their tires, that's a big one. I probably say that at least 60 to 70% of the time when I pull someone out of the ditch is, ooh, your tires are pretty thin. So just giving them recommendations.
His greatest message for drivers is to simply slow down and drive for the conditions, a message echoed by state police after first responder vehicles across the state have been hit on the roads this winter.
You've seen a lot of fire trucks that have been hit on the expressways as they're responding to calls. And so we remind motorists that move over law is in effect to keep our first responders safe and also ultimately to keep you safe from running into another vehicle.
MSP reminding drivers that turning on your lights and clearing snow from your vehicle can make the commute safer for yourself and others, but the most important thing is put the phone down.
We see people that are distracted as they're driving, and that's what causes the rear end collisions that ends up being multiple vehicles involved because it creates a chain reaction.
And that was Jeremiah Brown reporting. Many students are hoping there's a snow day tomorrow, but with the way it's snowing right now, that might not happen. And with the weather we've had already this year, some local superintendents may think twice about canceling classes. 13 on your side's Josh Alberta spoke with a couple of those superintendents about their plans for more snow days this year.
Here in the Great Lakes State, snow days may be fun for many students.
I just went to a game and they, had a nice time communicating to me about the forecast and all of that.
But for in-person public schools, it comes with deep consideration.
No, it is not an easy decision at all, and it takes a lot of time. None of these snow days are taken lightly.
Here in Michigan, state law says schools can only cancel 6 days for reasons out of their control and still count them toward the required 180 days for their academic year. 3 additional days could be possible with approval from the state's superintendent.
We have a day's requirement, we have a minutes requirement, so it just depends on where we fall short. Sometimes you have to add days, sometimes you have to add minutes to the current days that you already have scheduled. Yeah, as a school district, we've had 4. We had 2 individual schools that also had an additional day of cancellation.
And at nearby Northview schools.
At Northview, we have used our 6 days.
And in Holland, the district saying on its website it had used 5 snow days so far this year, as it announced it would consider calling 2-hour delays instead of full snow days for the rest of the academic calendar when safe to do so. So as more weather was set to approach Wednesday evening, considerations were being made.
It's always safety. You know, we want our students here. We do not want them at home when they're supposed to be with us. So if it's safe to bring them in, we want to bring them in.
Quite frankly, no matter how many days we've used or how many days we have left, if it's not safe, it's not safe. So we would go ahead and make that decision. That may leave us, you know, at the end of the winter time scrambling to figure out what it looks like in the spring and potentially even into the summer. But ultimately, if it is not a safe day to come to school, then we're not going to have school.
All right, that was Josh Albertus reporting. And a reminder, if there are any cancellations, closings, or delays, you will find that on our website, 13onyourside.com. The list also is scrolling at the bottom of our channel 13 on the broadcast station, and it is updated constantly. We want to take a look right now at some of our tower cams live pictures. This is downtown Grand Rapids. Yeah, you can see the snow is falling lightly. It looks really pretty outside, especially if you're sitting inside looking out, doesn't it? Another tower cam we're looking at right now, downtown Muskegon. And yes, that is where the snow began earlier today, earlier than in the Grand Rapids area. And they do have a little more. Those roads are snow covered there. Another one of our tower cams. There we go. That's our Walker Tower cam. You can see one of the Kent County plow trucks, salt trucks out there. I see 2 of them right there out on the roads. And yes, the roads are snow covered, but there are at least tire tracks where you can see where the roadway is. And then Grand Haven. Earlier this afternoon, if you were with us, this is a live picture right now. We could not see the pier or anything when the snow was coming down this afternoon. And as Colton was mentioning, it is starting to lighten up. There's some dry areas right now that we're going to see off and on throughout the night. On snowy days, many prefer to stay inside where it's warm, but some struggle to keep the lights and heat on in their homes. And that's something one nonprofit can help. 13 on Your Side's Lauren Baker reports.
During a cold winter with plenty of snow, keeping your heat and lights on is crucial, but not everyone can make those payments.
Households that are on limited income, we need to be helping them and making sure that they stay safe and warm.
Marissa Borman is the Power, Heat, and Energy Assistance Divisional Director with True North Community Services. She and others at the nonprofit help families pay their utility bills, but their outreach can be limited at times.
Funding for utility assistance at the state and federal level has stayed pretty stagnant over those years. So the reality is we've been helping fewer and fewer people.
It can be reduced even more when low-income families make just over the amount needed to qualify.
So one family that comes to mind, single dad who had 3 kids, son got hurt at school. When they went to apply for the assistance through the state, they were just a little bit over income. Now with these medical bills, the dad was looking at what could be sacrificed this month.
But thanks to a recent gift, families like this one don't have to sacrifice. True North Community Services was one of 5 nonprofits that received a total of $5 million from Consumers Energy. It's to help struggling families pay their utility bills.
The impact of these dollars is making sure that the households and families have the safe place to be.
She says the dollars will help the agency reach more people who may fall through the cracks. And with Mother Nature continuing her cold forecast, every penny counts.
And that was Lauren Baker reporting. As we showed you earlier, the webcam from the Muskegon Luge Park, there are people out at the Luge Park tonight. There are also going to be kids who want to go sledding tomorrow. However, the city of Grand Rapids no longer has the free sled libraries at its parks. That program began last year at 3 parks as a pilot project, but it did not return this year. 13 on Your Side's Alexis Dumergy explains.
We're here in Richmond Park where GR Outside sled libraries have officially ended. After months of providing kids with free sled gear, the sleds are now gone and the stations will no longer exist.
what I think ended up happening is some people would take the sled for the winter, or they may have stolen them as well.
Last winter, the city of Grand Rapids offered free sled libraries. The initiative allowed kids to sled down the hills using sled gear that was provided by GR Outside.
The sleds themselves, we did an experiment last year where we created a library where people could come and use them without staff.
A spokesperson for GR Outside, part of the city's Parks and Recs department, told us they believe some of the residents might not have understood the concept.
And it probably didn't work the greatest. Some people would take the sleds, and we think they kept them for the entire winter. They may not have understood the process.
GR Outside has reworked its programs, now aiming more for organized group activities.
So we kind of refocus that into making them more targeted trips for people now, where they can call the gear library and say, we want to do a sledding trip, and then it's more of an organized event for any youth group. And it's still free of cost.
GR Parks and Rec said that you can still rent snowshoes and fat tire bikes at the Indian Trails Golf Course in Grand Rapids. In Richmond Park, Alexis Dumergine, 13 on your side.
The Kent County Road Commission has been planning for this snow for days. Steve Roan from the Kent County Road Commission joins us now live. And Steve, we just saw on our Walker Tower cam, 2 of the county trucks were out on the highway there on 96. So we know that the crews are out and they're working those roads.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 40 trucks out tonight that'll be working overnight through the night into the morning, trying to deal with the snow as it comes down, treating our highest traveled roads first, to the highways and multi-lane county primaries. And we'll have a day crew coming in tomorrow morning between 4 and 6 a.m., taking over from there and continuing through the day.
Now, evening commute, the roads, I mean, it was snowing during the evening commutes, but were there any major problems for the trucks and on the roads?
No, I mean, I think your general congestion, as anything, a storm hits like this in concert with heavy traffic when everyone's trying to get home or to an evening event, it definitely slowed our snow removal operation down, but we were able to get through it. I think everyone got where they needed to go relatively smoothly, and I think everything out there letting people know about the storm helps with that.
And what are the crews spreading right now? Is it sand? Is it salt? Is it both?
It's both. It's a mixture right now of both sand and salt. The abrasive in the sand helps as we get snow that continues to fall, gives some traction behind what we do. And as the storm kind of moves through, behind it, we'll work to clean it up and use some more salt later in the day tomorrow to clean things up.
Now, we know with the traffic congestion earlier for the evening commute, it was a little slower, but with the snow scheduled to move out overnight, can the trucks make more progress and maybe be ready for the morning commute for the traffic tomorrow?
Yeah, we definitely will be making progress. Our mission out there is 36 hours after the storm event to make it through the entire network. That includes our subdivisions, gravel roads, all those roads. But overnight, as the storm lets up, definitely we will make considerable progress with our state system and those county primaries. So maybe when we get going tomorrow morning, you'll see where we've been.
What do you want drivers in Kent County to know about traveling on our roads?
Well, like anything, when we prepare before we do anything, we're going to be more successful. So all the drivers, if they prepare for the road conditions as they are less than ideal, that preparation will go a long way. That preparation will get them where they want to go on time, safely. And so prepare for the run or your drive to take you longer than normal. It's going to be 20-minute normal drive in less than ideal conditions at maybe 40 minutes. Limit your conditions or your distractions in your vehicle, and also give some room to the plows that are out there. Stay back that 200 feet, and it works best for both of us.
That is great advice for drivers. And we have had a lot more snow this winter than last. How are supplies for the rest of the season for the Kent County Road Commission?
We're sitting pretty good. I mean, we don't get to control really the supply of the snow, but the supply of our salt and our sand is doing well. We do kind of purchase a lot over a 5-year average. So some of these smaller winters we've had the last few years have brought that average down, but you know, we're sitting where we need to be and we're not at a shortage at this point.
Steve Roan from the Kent County Road Commission, thank you so much for joining us live for this special streaming report.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Now Blake is back, and Blake, they have the roads under control. They look pretty good right now.
Yeah, they do a pretty good job, that's for sure. Kent County and all of our West Michigan counties, they're always on top of it. They know how it goes. It's one of those things today, Juliet. We saw the snow come in. I think, the timing for the most part was what we were expecting. I think if there was anything that was a little disappointing, now I think disappointing might be the word we use as forecasters, for some at home saying, I'm glad it wasn't too bad out there.
I'm not disappointed.
The roads were still a little dicey, obviously, during the evening commute. But I think what was really different than what we were anticipating was the amount of dry air that was entrained in this system.
You were talking to us about this in our afternoon editorial meeting because you said there was dry air in Illinois, and that could affect how much snow we got here in West Michigan.
Keeping an eye on that. We have initially started, anytime we have a system come in, we got to fight some initial dry air because our wind's out of the north and east, so that's coming off of the Ontario Basin. It's a very dry air mass with a northeast wind. I don't want to get too complicated here, but what happens as these systems arrive, they got to saturate the atmosphere, and that's why sometimes you might see snow on radar, but it's not actually reaching the ground because it's evaporating before it reaches the ground. And what that does is it continues to saturate the atmosphere. Eventually, you overcome the dry air, and then you get snow. We saw a little bit of that earlier in the day, especially here in the greater Grand Rapids area. Now, Muskegon was dealing with a lot of heavy snow at noon, 1 o'clock. I'll show a time lapse in just a little bit. Meanwhile, here at Walker, Grand Rapids, we're sitting there saying, "What's going on?" And eventually, we saw that win out. The system, the snow came through, and the dry air was out of here. But then there was another entrainment of dry air that was over Illinois, and I think that just snuck in too much a little bit into West Michigan. That did two things. That limited the flake size. When I was out on the weather deck at 5 and 5:30, you probably noticed it was snowing, don't get me wrong, but it was very fine snow. It was greasing up the roadways. Yeah, it was causing slick spots, but that's not conductive for decent accumulation. And we've seen a few inches of accumulation. That's but we were anticipating, I think, many around that 6-inch mark, and I just don't think that's going to happen by the end of tonight. Then it also has allowed, we were really thinking this peak time of the snow 3 to 9 o'clock in the evening, and we're sitting at 8:30 right now. But we've had some lulls over the last hour or two across West Michigan. I was just talking to someone out in Grand Haven, landscaper that does snow plowing. He's like, yeah, we're around 2.5, 3 inches of snow. It's mostly stopped for now. And that has been kind of the situation this evening. That dry air has kind of limited what we were initially thinking, and
that's okay with me.
It's just sometimes how it goes.
A little bit of snow, but also this afternoon, because I was watching our live looping radar, and I did see how Muskegon. It was kind of like a circle of dryness in the Grand Rapids area, where Muskegon was getting it, and other areas.
We call that a donut hole.
Okay, I saw that donut hole today.
Not to eat it, but no, it's a donut hole, and that's that dry air. We're trying to saturate the atmosphere, but there was just enough dry air, more than anticipated, and that's what kind of limited some of these amounts. I think especially here in the Grand Rapids area, I would not be surprised Muskegon, Ludington, Pentwater might actually end up with more snow than what we see here in Grand Rapids when this is all said and done. That obviously wasn't what we were forecasting. So it's just one of those things. It happens, not 100% right all the time.
That's okay.
I'll be the first one to admit, but it's just those situations that, it just happened a little bit more, and we're going to have to move on and get to the next system, that's for sure.
Okay, so what do we expect now for the rest of the night, overnight, and into the morning?
A little bit more snow this evening. We're starting to see some of that fill back in, the back edge of this system snow. I think we'll still see some snow, and maybe another inch or two at best in spots, Juliet, through around midnight. Then this is out of here. We'll have a little bit of lake effect in the morning, and then we'll have to keep an eye on our next system. Talk about our next system, Friday night into the weekend. So, yeah, that's going to be the case. This was the view out of our Muskegon Tower camp today. So there it is, Juliet. This was around 11:45 in the morning. Snow starting. There's 12:30. Look how quickly it accumulated, between 12:30 and 3:30 in the afternoon. And then gradually, once we got past 5 o'clock or so, much lighter in nature, and it's kind of stayed that way in the Muskegon area over the evening hours. And visibility is still somewhat reduced, but obviously a little lighter compared to the snow that was initially falling, again, in the Muskegon area this afternoon. 13 weather ball, blinking green, still some snow in sight. We got a little bit of snow to go, at least through around midnight. Web cameras around West Michigan kind of showing that somewhat snowy view. There's the view in downtown Pentwater right now. Some flakes still falling there out in Oceana County, and you can see some snow out of our camera in Grand Rapids overlooking the Grand River. So satellite and radar, you can kind of see that entrainment of dry air over the greater Grand Rapids area for at least a few frames here on radar. Hold out this loop just a little bit. You can see right in here. Yeah, see some of that dry air that originated from Illinois. There it is, spilling into Grand Rapids. Yeah, that was the case. And we're still somewhat seeing that here as we're approaching 8:30, 8:40 in the evening here between Muskegon and Big Rapids. A little bit of a lull, that dry air entrained. But we are seeing some snow lift back in from the south. And I still think we'll see a little bit of snow to go at least through around 11 o'clock this evening. There it is. There's a better look at radar. And you can see from Muskegon, Newaygo, Big Rapids, and then as you get into Mount Pleasant, the Clare, Harrison area, yeah, very limited snow, just a few light snow showers at best. Now from I-96 to the south, yeah, this is some moderate snow reaching the ground. This is the back side of this system now, and anything that's that darker shade of blue here on radar, that is indicating some moderate snowfall. So from Grand Rapids down to Allegan, South Haven, Hastings, yeah, the snow falling at a pretty decent clip. But this is going to wrap up over the next several hours. Low pressures now in southern Illinois, or southern Indiana, I should say, near Cincinnati, and this is going to lift towards Cleveland as the night goes on, and we'll quickly see this snow peel out of here as our wind turns back to the north, and that will completely dry us out. So in terms of cameras around West Michigan, despite the snow a little lackluster in spots, it's still a bit icy out there. The nature of the snow, while it's not conductive to accumulate, it definitely is enough to grease up the roadways. And as meteorologist Colton Wood said, you know, while it doesn't look that bad out there, roads are a little deceptive. He's seen a few cars in the ditch, and that's what we'll carry on at least through this evening into tonight. Temperatures are well below freezing, so any slick spots, yeah, they're going to remain slick if untreated. But there it is, past midnight, we'll see the snow peel out of here. We could contend with a little bit of lake effect snow at the lake shore tomorrow morning, maybe upwards of an inch or so of accumulation, and then for the most part expecting quiet skies in the afternoon and evening. Now this particular model keeping a little bit of lake effect north and west of Fremont, but I really think by the end of tomorrow we'll be done with the snow completely. Still anticipating maybe another inch or so of accumulation before this is all wrapped up, and then we'll keep an eye on some of that lake effect, maybe another additional inch at the lakeshore tomorrow morning. So roughly 1 to 2 inches more of accumulation in more spots than not. Numbers through tomorrow really don't budge. We're going to stay in the lower 20s tonight, middle 20s at best tomorrow. If there is an impact that will be felt tomorrow, somewhat noticeable, it will be the wind. As the day goes on, you can see some of those gusts anticipated to be over 30 miles per hour. So we could see some minor blowing and drifting snow from what has fallen today as we get into the second half of tomorrow. But I told Juliet, and we still have more snow on the way late in the week. It does appear there's going to be a quick moving system through the Great Lakes Friday evening and the Friday night. This might give us a good 1 to 3 inches of quick snow Friday night, and then this is out of here. But what will happen while this system departs, we're going to see another front set up shop right along the state line, and we're going to be on the colder side of this front, so that's going to allow precipitation to be in the way of snow. Notice south of that front, it's warm enough for just rain in the Ohio River Valley. The question with Saturday is how heavy will the snow be north of that front, and how long will it last? At least what I'm showing here is that it's conductive that we'll see at least some consistent snow starting Saturday midday, lasting through the afternoon and evening, and even into a good chunk of Saturday night. If this comes to fruition, we could see a good amount of snow, at least on the order of several inches, later Saturday and the Saturday night before that finally exits to our east. But we'll replace it with lake effect snow, and we haven't talked too much about lake effect snow lately, later Sunday into early next week. And the reason behind that is that we're actually going to see an Arctic blast of air come through early next week. Big chunk of cold air entrenching the country early next week, really much of next week, and we're only expecting daytime highs to be in the teens next Monday and Tuesday. So tonight, upper teens to lower 20s across West Michigan. The snow will last consistently for a few more hours, and then it will taper off. Here's the rest of our 7-day forecast, and kind of all over the place, but Friday is a quiet day. Friday night and the Saturday, back to some snow. Sunday, lake effect, and then early next week, we're in the teens for daytime highs. Look at those lows. Yeah, only a few degrees above zero here in Grand Rapids. I wouldn't be surprised some are below zero. Sunday night, Monday night, and the Tuesday night, and then we might be back to some quiet weather towards the end of next week. All right, back to you, Juliet.
Thank you, Blake. We want to show you a look at our closings page in the area. Right now we have 14 schools that are closed. Several of those are due to illness, however. Also, many evening activities were canceled for tonight. And you will find this full list on our website, which is updated constantly, 13onyourside.com, as well as scrolling at the bottom of the screen on your TV, channel 13. Road conditions do vary across the area. We want to go back to 13 on your side meteorologist Colton Woods in the Weather Chaser. Colton, where are you now and how are you doing?
Hey Juliet, we are traveling eastbound on M45 or Lake Michigan Drive in Allendale, just leaving the GVSU campus heading toward Grand Rapids right now. And overall, it's definitely worse, I would say, than I-96 where we were earlier in the streaming show, because like we know, road crews usually start to plow the highways and the main roads first rather than the less traveled roads. Even though M45 is definitely a traveled road, it's in worse shape, I would say, than I-96. Visibility is a little bit worse than it was earlier, as well as we are now entering a region with some light to even a little bit moderate snow possibly across the eastern portion of Ottawa County, heading into the western portion of Kent County, just south of Walker as well. But with the visibility, at least at nighttime, it's definitely harder to see when it's snowing because obviously it's dark out. But the road itself is definitely on the slick side. You can still see it snow covered on M45 right now, heading toward Grand Rapids. We're traveling about 35-40 miles per hour when the actual posted speed limit is 55 miles per hour. So definitely going slower than the typical speed because of the snow on the roadways, but nothing out of the ordinary and nothing that we haven't seen so far this winter, as we have seen many systems, including the lake effect snow in the middle of January. That was definitely by far the worst travel I've seen so far this winter. So this isn't anything extreme by any means, but definitely take it slow out there if you have plans of heading out over the next couple of hours. But we did talk with the Muskegon County Road Commission earlier today, and they also said that the roads will be slick, and they're treating the roads with a mixture of both salt and sand because the air temperature is right around that 20-degree mark, and when you get to about 20 degrees, that's when you'll likely need some sand to mix in with the salt to at least get better traction. What the salt does is it melts the snow on the roadways and prevents at least ice from forming, but what the sand does is when it gets so cold, the salt becomes ineffective. So treat it with sand to at least give you some traction on the roadway. So that's at least an important part of the road treatment. And they also said that they'll likely have their crews out all night tonight. So like we've been saying, probably not a lot of school closures, at least along I-96 where this dry air mass is starting to entrench into the system. Especially right now, I'm looking at the radar across Muskegon, Newaygo, heading toward Mecosta County as well. They're definitely seeing just light snow, if not any snow at all. But heading into Ottawa County, it looks like some radar returns are starting to show some light to even moderate snow returning across the region. So heading into the rest of the evening through about midnight to 1 a.m. as the storm system continues to move through the region, that's where we expect at least a few more inches of snow possibly across the region, maybe 1 to 2 isolated amounts of 3. But the heaviest snow still along US 10 and I-94 where they're currently seeing the worst of the conditions. But for now, I'll send it back to you, Juliet.
And Colton, for viewers who might just be joining us, again, you were on Lake Michigan Drive heading east, going about 35-40 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's correct. We're heading east toward Grand Rapids, leaving Allendale on M45 or Lake Michigan Drive, yeah.
And how was it, because you were in Muskegon all day today, how was it earlier in the evening to drive back on 96 from Muskegon to Walker?
I was traveling on 96 from Muskegon heading back to Grand Rapids around 7 p.m. and I did actually notice a couple cars were in the ditch. So that probably occurred just shortly before I got there, but the roads weren't too bad, at least on 96 at that time, but it was snowing at least a little bit harder than it is now. And the back roads, especially Maple Island Road in Muskegon County heading into Ottawa County, that road was definitely on the slicker side.
Meteorologist Colton Woods, thank you for that live update on our road conditions. Winter businesses love this snowfall. They look forward to it, including the Muskegon Luge Adventure Park. Workers at the park say the snow helps them to build up their ski and snowshoe trails, and then they can groom them and make them safe for everyone to enjoy. Another benefit of the snow, it allows them to build up ice.
Our luge track is all natural conditions, not refrigerated. So when we get this snow, we can water the snow and then slush it in the luge track and just build the ice out thicker with this snow. And then with the ice rink, I mean, we're pretty much plowing it off the ice rink. But when we get fresh snow, it's just great to make the ice rink, look nicer with those nice snowy edges.
And with more snow and cold in the forecast, conditions could be good at the luge park and the trails into March.
As we all know, Michigan, the weather can change just like that. So we're just living in the moment. We've been open since the beginning of January. This has been a great winter for us, and it looks like we're going to be open for at least another couple of weeks.
Muskegon Luge is open 7 days a week. You'll find the current trail conditions on their website. On Fridays and Saturdays, they have a fire garden where they serve beer, wine, and other cocktails. And they also happen to have a live web camera that we want to show you right now. This is looking live at the Muskegon Luge Adventure Park. You can see we have some adventurous people out there loving the snow, enjoying it. Again, this is a live webcam from Muskegon Luge Park. If you park in Grand Rapids or Muskegon, and we're talking about your car now, city leaders are reminding drivers there are odd, even parking rules in each city. And if you don't follow them, you are going to get a ticket. In Grand Rapids, the rules are in effect until April 1st. On odd dates, you must park on the side of the street with the odd numbered addresses. On even dates, you have to park on the side of the street with the even numbered addresses. Grand Rapids city leaders say the rule is because snow plows and emergency vehicles need access to neighborhoods, and that's why it's in effect every single day, even when it's not snowing. In Muskegon, meanwhile, there are slightly different rules downtown compared to the city's neighborhoods. In downtown Muskegon, you can park on both sides of the street during the day. Overnight, you have to follow those odd, even parking rules. Now, in neighborhoods, you can park on both sides of the street from 5 in the evening until 7 in the morning. However, during the day, you must follow the odd, even parking rules. In Muskegon, the rules are in effect until March 1st. We did receive a statement from the Muskegon Police Department on this issue because so many people are talking about this on social media today. The statement says in part, this ordinance is enforced every day during these winter months, not just when the streets are being plowed for snow removal. It goes on to say, we understand that a ticket for this enforcement may be a nuisance to our residents, but we hope this will help inform even more people about this long-standing ordinance. First responders and tow truck drivers are reminding other drivers about the law when it comes to emergency vehicles. 13 on your side's Jeremiah Brown has details.
Absolutely. I've been doing it for 24 years, and I'm always got eyes in the back of my head.
For Ryan Nielsen, owner of Ryan's Towing in Rockford, the move over law can be personal.
There has been multiple times where I've had to jump out of the way because someone's not paying attention. They're looking at their phone, they're looking at the accident scene, they're not paying attention to what's going on in front of them.
His business has spent the morning preparing for the snowfall, making sure they are equipped to assist drivers in tricky situations.
We pull out four-wheel drives just as much as we pull out two-wheel drives. People not replacing their tires, that's a big one. I probably say that at least 60 to 70% of the time when I pull someone out of the ditch is, ooh, your tires are pretty thin. So just giving them recommendations.
His greatest message for drivers is to simply slow down and drive for the conditions, a message echoed by state police after first responder vehicles across the state have been hit on the roads this winter.
You've seen a lot of fire trucks that have been hit on the expressways as they're responding to calls. And so we remind motorists that move over law is in effect to keep our first responders safe and also ultimately to keep you safe from running into another vehicle.
MSP reminding drivers that turning on your lights and clearing snow from your vehicle can make the commute safer for yourself and others, but the most important thing is put the phone down.
We see people that are distracted as they're driving, and that's what causes the rear end collisions that ends up being multiple vehicles involved because it creates a chain reaction.
Jeremiah Brown reporting. Many students are hoping there's a snow day tomorrow, but with that snow winding down and the road crews out all night, maybe not. And the weather we've had already this year, some local superintendents may think twice about canceling classes. 13 on your side's Josh Alberta spoke with a couple of the superintendents about their plans for more snow days this year.
Here in the Great Lakes state, snow days may be fun for many students.
I just went to a game and they, had a nice time communicating to me about the forecast and all of that.
But for in-person public schools, it comes with deep consideration.
No, it is not an easy decision at all, and it takes a lot of time. None of these snow days are taken lightly.
Here in Michigan, state law says schools can only cancel 6 days for reasons out of their control and still count them toward the required 180 days for their academic year. 3 additional days could be possible with approval from the state's superintendent.
We have a days requirement, we have a minutes requirement, so it just depends on where we fall short. Sometimes you have to add days, sometimes you have to add minutes to the current days that you already have scheduled. Yeah, as a school district, we've had 4. We had 2 individual schools that also had an additional day of cancellation.
And at nearby Northview schools.
At Northview, we have used our 6 days.
And in Holland, the district saying on its website it had used 5 snow days so far this year, as it announced it would consider calling 2-hour delays instead of full snow days for the rest of the academic calendar when safe to do so. So as more weather was set to approach Wednesday evening, considerations were being made.
It's always safety. We want our students here. We do not want them at home when they're supposed to be with us. So if it's safe to bring them in, we want to bring them in.
Quite frankly, no matter how many days we've used or how many days we have left, if it's not safe, it's not safe. So we would go ahead and make that decision. That may leave us, at the end of the winter time scrambling to figure out what it looks like in the spring and potentially even into the summer. But ultimately, if it is not a safe day to come to school, then we're not going to have school.
That was Josh Albertus reporting. And we are constantly updating closing and cancellations on our website, 13onyourside.com. Right now, we have 19 school closings for tomorrow. The ones we're seeing are to the south of Grand Rapids, well to the south. And anytime you need to see this page, you can see it on our website, 13onyourside.com. We also have it scrolling throughout the bottom of your TV screen, Channel 13 on our broadcast station. On snowy days, many prefer to stay inside where it's warm, but some struggle to keep the lights and heat on in their homes. And that's something one nonprofit is doing to help. 13 on Your Side's Lauren Baker reports.
During a cold winter with plenty of snow, keeping your heat and lights on is crucial, but not everyone can make those payments.
Households that are on limited income, we need to be helping them and making sure that they stay safe and warm.
Marissa Borman is the Power, Heat, and Energy Assistance Divisional Director with True North Community Services. She and others at the nonprofit help families pay their utility bills, but their outreach can be limited at times.
Funding for utility assistance at the state and federal level has stayed pretty stagnant over those years. So the reality is we've been helping fewer and fewer people.
It can be reduced even more when low-income families make just over the amount needed to qualify.
So one family that comes to mind, single dad who had 3 kids. Son got hurt at school. When they went to apply for the assistance through the state, they were just a little bit over income. Now with these medical bills, the dad was looking at what could be sacrificed this month.
But thanks to a recent gift, families like this one don't have to sacrifice. True North Community Services was one of 5 nonprofits that received a total of $5 million from Consumers Energy. It's to help struggling families pay their utility bills.
The impact of these dollars is making sure that the households and families have the safe place to be.
She says the dollars will help the agency reach more people who may fall through the cracks. And with Mother Nature continuing her cold forecast, every penny counts.
Lauren Baker reporting. A lot of children are taking advantage of this snow to go sledding, but the city of Grand Rapids no longer has those free sled libraries at its parks. That program began last year at 3 parks. It was a pilot project. It did not return this year. 13 on Your Side's Alexis Dumergine explains.
We're here in Richmond Park where GR outside sled libraries have officially ended. After months of providing kids with free sled gear, the sleds are now gone and the stations will no longer exist.
What I think ended up happening is some people would take the sled for the winter, or they may have stolen them as well.
Last winter, the city of Grand Rapids offered free sled libraries. The initiative allowed kids to sled down the hills using sled gear that was provided by GR outside.
The sleds themselves, we did an experiment last year where we created a library where people could come and use them without staff.
A spokesperson for GR outside, part of the city's Parks and Recs department, told us they believe some of the residents might not have understood the concept.
and it probably didn't work the greatest. Some people would take the sleds, and we think they kept them for the entire winter. They may not have understood the process.
GR Outside has reworked its programs, now aiming more for organized group activities.
So we kind of refocus that into making a more targeted trips for people now, where they can call a gear library and say, we want to do a sledding trip, and then it's more of an organized event for any youth group. And it's still free of cost.
GR Parks and Rec said that you can still rent snowshoes and fat tire bikes at the Indian Trails Golf Course in Grand Rapids. In Richmond Park, Alexis Dumergine, 13 on your side.
And before we wrap up this live special coverage here on 13 Plus, we want to take a look at road conditions one more time. So let's go back to 13 on your side meteorologist Colton Woods, who's out in the weather chaser. Colton.
Yeah, hi Julia. We're still on M45 or Lake Michigan Drive, heading toward Grand Rapids, leaving Allendale. In the Walker region, you can see right now just some slushy roads, as we've seen several road crews from Kent County come through on M45 heading east, moving the snow out of the region, and also just creating a little bit of slush as well as they move through the area because of the wet conditions on the roadways, as they're beginning to treat the roads with some salt across the roads as well. But radar right now does show at least some lighter snow moving in this area around Walker, but there's also some very heavy to moderate snow around Jenison and Wyoming. So just to our south, they're actually getting quite a good clip of some snow. But right now here in the Walker area, the snow is very light and also pretty fine as well. But the road's still snow covered, so if you have any plans over the next couple of hours, just take it slow out there. Nothing that we haven't seen so far this winter, but make sure you just take it slow and pay attention to the roadways, because we have seen some accidents on I-96 earlier today, right around 7. So it's definitely slick out there. So make sure you just take it slow over the next couple of hours before the system eventually wraps up around midnight or just after. And then we'll transition toward lake effect snow along the lakeshore, heading into the morning commute tomorrow, lasting through maybe the early afternoon as well. But overall, the impacts on the roads aren't as bad as what we originally thought, but still slick nonetheless. So make sure you take it a little bit slow. But back to you, Juliet.
Thank you, Colton, for that update. And we do want to look at our tower cams one more time before we wrap up for the evening. And here we go. That's downtown Grand Rapids. Yep, it's still snowing, but it looks pretty out there. Let's check on our Muskegon tower cam. Roads snow covered, but you can see it's not coming down very hard there. Our next tower cam, this is the Walker tower cam. And once again, we see those trucks out on the road. Every time we show you, we see one of our road crews out there, at least one or two. And then finally, the Grand Haven tower cam. It just looks cold there along the lake shore.
Sure does.
And Blake is here with one final look at our forecast.
You know, Juliet, of course, from a forecasting standpoint, maybe a little less than we were anticipating, but like Colton said, you still really want to, take it slow, a little extra time, a little extra distance. That's always my phrase to use.
Yeah, I like that.
Because he saw a few cars in the ditch, and just because we haven't seen as much as we were expecting doesn't mean they aren't dicey out there.
Right.
So definitely keep in mind if you got to head out and about. But the good news is that things should improve as the night goes on, especially for the Thursday morning commute. There are some school closings, as you mentioned a little bit ago, but I think the majority of West Michigan will be in class tomorrow. But we are seeing another push of some heavier snow. Look at that dark shade of blue coming through Kent, Ottawa, Allegan County. So there'll be a nice clip of snow over the next half hour to 45 minutes, and then we'll gradually start to see the snow wane, 10, 11 o'clock towards midnight, and we'll go from there, and we'll be back on air at 11 o'clock.
Yeah, we're gonna
sure are.
Sign off 13 Plus and get ready for the 11 o'clock news.
Yes.
And you can find even more weather coverage right here on 13 Plus. We are live streaming the radar, which is really coming in handy for me. I've been watching it all day today. Tower cameras and more. And you can find that pinned at the bottom of your screen on 13 Plus. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you on Channel 13 at 11 o'clock. Until then, have a great night.
This has been a 13 Weather Impact Alert.